Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to talk about some multiple page documents and more specifically, putting headers in multiple page documents. So I'm going to work you through um, the difference in first page headers versus second page headers versus if you need an additional header. So I'm actually going to take this a little step further than I think what we're covering right now into text, but I'm going to go ahead and show you all the different header features that we can find here. So starting with your head letter, so this is the letter that we been using all week. So it's just the same letter. I left the information on it, but I have increased the body so that we now have page 2, page 3 with the closing. And we also have an attachment where we're going to put additional header on. So starting at a document, we need, first of all, we need to put in a header now on a letter. So you never want your header to show up on your first page of a letter, of a memo, of a report, of pretty much anything. I think there's one style of reports where you're allowed to have numbering on the first page, and everything else, all your headers need to start at the second page. So if we were to put a header on our first page here, we're looking at insert, and then we can go over to the header tab. So once you click on headers and footers, you can pick one, and then you can just start. Another way that you can just do that now is just double click in the header section. So as long as your mouse is anywhere on the top, you can double click and it will open the same area for you with all the same features. So what you see right away when we're here is there is default text in there. So I'm taking that out. And in my headers and footers toolbar that pops up here, the ribbon, we want to choose a different first page header. So when you choose a different first page header, that automatically sets your header to a first page header. And then if you go to your next, which is this button, which will bring you to your next header, now you're on to the header section. So this would be like the first page after your document. So it's not the first page. The first page, we're going to leave that header completely blank. And we're going to move into our second page header. So if we just put into this our company, which is, we're going to call it Squeaky Clean, and we want the page number put in. So when you choose headers, their default tabs are already set for you. There is a center tab, and there's also a right align tab over here for us. So you can choose to tab and then put in page number. So, but when you insert a page number, if you put in page and you type the number 2 and then you close your header, let's have a look. So you don't have your header on first page, which is perfect because we turned on our first page header and then we said we're leaving that one blank. So we moved into our second page. And when you're into your second page, there's your header visible that we just created. But because I typed in page 2, my third page also says page 2. And my fourth page will say page 2. So we never type in the actual numbers. We have to put in page numbering. So let's open up our header again. And we can see that it is the header and not the first page header. So now we're going to delete the page 2 and we're going to insert with the page numbering. So if we choose the page numbering, it'll tell you where we want it. We're just going to say current position, and then we can choose the style we want it. So we'll just go with this one. So now we have our page 2 with our page numbering header edit. We'll close it again. And we'll scroll down and you'll see that page 3 is now page 3 and page 4 is now page 4 because we use the page numbering. So if we were to open up our headers again and we turned off the different first page, you'll see that that header that we just created is now on our first page as well. And if we turn on the first page header again, it'll jump to the other side. But if we created this header and then we turned on the first page header, your first page header would contain the same information. So make sure you turn on the first page header before you actually type anything in your headers. So the same thing is exactly the same thing for footers. So it's all the same information. So all you need to remember is that you absolutely have to turn on your different first page before you begin. And then you close it and you have your headers working perfectly all the way through. Excuse me. So now if we needed to change the layout of this header, because they want us to have a 3-line header. So if we went back into our header, you can go into insert and edit it, or you can just double click. And then you can put in the information in 3 rows. So if we wanted to, for this case, it's page 2 is on the second line. And then we will have the date, which is January 26, 2023. So there we have our perfect header, and we'll close that, and you will see that will show up on every page with the page number automatically updating for us. So now we have exactly what we need in this letter. But let's just say we want to have a different header on this attachment. We don't want it to be counted as page 4. We don't want page number even on it. We just want to say squeaky clean newsletter and a date. What are we going to do? Well, we need to insert a section break. So if we go into the end of our document and we want to go insert, layout, and you will see breaks. If you drop down your arrow for breaks, there's a continuous section break. If you put in the continuous section break, it'll show up here. It doesn't affect anything. You can't see it if your show hide is turned off. If I go and I turn off my show hide, you can't see it. You don't even know it's there. So we're going to turn it back on. But if we now go into the header on this page, you will see that there's a section 2 header. So we have our first one is section 1. But now when you put in a section break, that's just like a brand new page to Word. It's like, okay, I can keep going things exactly the same, or we can turn it off and we can have a brand new section. So in order to turn it off, we have to turn off the link to previous. You'll see link to previous right here. And if you turn that off, you're now in section 2 header, and you can choose to take out the page number, and we're just going to put the date to the left, to the right. And now if we close our header and we have a look, you will see page 1 is no header. Page 2 is our header for section 1. Page 3 is still a part of section 1, and it's the same header carried over. But page 4 is a brand new header. So you can do that as many times as you need to. So if you needed to remove, you didn't want your header on your attachments, you didn't want your header on something at the end, you just simply need to insert a continuous section break, which tells Word, oh, wait a second, we're starting a brand new section here. What are we going to do with it? And then you can control what you're going to do with this section. And that's the only way that you can get a different header on a page after your first page to be completely different from the rest of your document. So we've talked about the numbering and we've talked about the 2 pages and the placements of the headers and how to change and how to have different headers into your document. So that covers everything that's covered in that lesson.